Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to this very special event, honoring a very special person today. My name is Dr. Grace Baranek, and I'm the Associate Dean and Chair of the USC Mrs. T.H. Chan Division of Occupational Science and Occupational Therapy. As we collectively emerge from the long shadow of the pandemic, I can't tell you how pleased I am to be with you face-to-face here today. With us today are USC Chan faculty and staff members, both current and retired, a number of our esteemed alumni, members of the Division's Board of Counselors, some of our current students, and last but not least, neighbors, friends, and members of the Llorens family. Thank you all for making the effort to join the USC Trojan family today as we celebrate the unparalleled career of the one and only Dr. Lela A. Williams Llorens. Lela Llorens first came to the profession of occupational therapy in 1949 as a student at the College of Puget Sound in Tacoma, Washington. She then transferred to Western Michigan College, now known as Western Michigan University in Kalamazoo, which is one of the first 5 accredited occupational therapy programs. The program at Western Michigan then was directed by Ms. Marion Spear, a member of that founding generation of occupational therapists dating back to the official founding year of 1917. Under the eye of Ms. Spear, Lela earned her Bachelor of Science degree in Occupational Therapy from Western Michigan University in 1953. And upon graduation, she received WMU's Marion R. Spear Award in Occupational Therapy. Lela entered the workforce at Wayne County General Hospital, where she worked with adults and children experiencing mental illness. Not long after that, she became the head of occupational therapy at the Lafayette Clinic in Detroit, and continued working with children experiencing mental health issues, a population that was becoming a central focus of her work. As she recalls in various memoirs, it was at the Lafayette Clinic that Lela saw how research approaches could complement clinical ones to create a multidimensional perspective that was more than just the sum of its parts. In 1960, Dr. Llorens began teaching at Wayne State, and while there also received her Master of Arts degree in vocational rehabilitation in 1962. She headed west in 1968 and for 3 years was a consultant for the comprehensive child care project at the Mount Zion Hospital Medical Center in San Francisco. She returned to academia in 1971, heading south to the University of Florida. She was named chair of the UF department in 1976, the same year that she earned a Doctor of Philosophy degree from Walden University. In 1982, she returned to Northern California to join the faculty at San Jose State University and then chaired that department for almost a decade. She served as Associate Academic Vice President for Faculty Affairs at San Jose State for 3 years before her quote-unquote official retirement in 1996. I use air quotes around official retirement because beginning in 1998, she became an adjunct faculty member here at USC for another decade. I guess the official retirement would have to wait. Today, she is the Professor Emerita at San Jose State, as well as core faculty emerita of the Stanford Geriatric Education Center. Academic appointments took her across the country, north to south, east to west, and her occupational roles outside of academia, those of wife and mother, came along for the ride too. Her husband, Joe, a brilliant artist and educator in his own right, was well known and loved throughout the entire profession. Those who knew him have told me about his advocacy for occupational therapy and the many appearances he made at meetings and conferences. And as I understand it, the love and pride for their daughter Maria was readily apparent to all. Dr. Llorens' early career interests in pediatrics expanded to encompass development at all ages across the lifespan, and throughout her career, she contributed extensively to the literature in occupational therapy, allied health, and gerontology. In 1969, Dr. Llorens delivered the American Occupational Therapy Association's Eleanor Clark Slagle Lecture, the profession's highest academic honor, which she titled Facilitating Growth and Development, the Promise of Occupational Therapy. The paper proposes a conceptual model for occupational therapy knowledge drawing upon human development and psychological theorists to support occupational therapy practice. In contrast to the reductionism that dominated that era of our history, Dr. Llorens proclaimed the value of a theoretical framework to guide assessment and intervention, thus helping set the stage for the paradigm shift that took hold in our profession during the 1970s and into the 1980s. Yet for many, that 1969 lecture lives in our collective memory for another reason. Dr. Llorens was the first, and unfortunately thus far only, African-American person to have received the Slagle Award. Dr. Llorens famously retells she delivered her 1969 lecture in a Dallas hotel ballroom to a predominantly white audience of occupational therapists. Let's go. A white audience of occupational therapists seated on the ballroom floor. All the while, the balcony above was ringed with black hotel staff, cooks, bellhops, maids, there to watch and silently support the black woman speaking at the podium. It's not a stretch to imagine that for some, perhaps many of them standing in the balcony, it could have been the first time they would have ever witnessed a black woman holding such figurative and literal power. 5 years later, in 1974, Dr. Llorens co-founded the Black Occupational Therapy Caucus, a more formal mechanism for black therapists and students to build personal and professional relationships. As an African-American woman who pioneered leadership positions within the profession, Dr. Llorens has been a bridge, mentor, and a role model for generations of young African-American therapists. And she continues to inspire today's generation of students and clinicians. In fact, just last year, during AOTA's 2021 virtual conference, Dr. Llorens, an AOTA Vice President and USC Chan faculty member, Ayres BS, engaged in a highlight dialogue on the state of the profession as related to diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. Yes, we have many fans of that event. Before coming to USC, I had not met Dr. Llorens. I knew of her amazing professional legacy as an OT professor and scholar, and I had been awed and inspired by her Slagle lecture early in my career. She was and continues to be a role model and mentor for so many in our field, but not knowing her personally, I had no idea who this icon really was, the woman behind all these accomplishments. What characteristics make for a leader who is so admired by so many? When I called Lela last year to personally extend today's honor, I finally experienced firsthand what others had so often described to me, her openness, inquisitiveness, graciousness, and her passionate engagement in life and community. And we had to wrap up our conversation in 30 minutes so that she wouldn't be late to her Zumba class. Dr. Florence Clark recently shared with me a folder of Dr. Llorens' writings, and I leapt at the opportunity to gain insights into her character. Among them was a diagram Dr. Llorens had used to accompany a presentation on implementing occupations for health and well-being. The diagram was titled Lela's New Life, and it exemplified what we as OTs prescribe for others but may not always adhere to ourselves: daily, engaged, meaningful occupations from the ordinary to the extraordinary. Hers started with morning prayer and meditation and incorporated throughout the day healthy doses of time with family and friends, exercise, service projects, arts and crafts, budgeting, shopping for balanced meals, and dance, theater, and movies. I also read a compilation by Dr. Llorens called Life's Little Stories. I learned that she loves football, her dad's influence, and cinnamon rolls, her grandmother's influence, and that she despises the little gremlins that hide inside her computers and mess everything up. Microsoft's influence. I discovered she was double promoted in 6th and 7th grade, that her Schlegel lecture came to her during a family trip in West Africa, and that she was inspired by the music of Chopin to write a beautiful poem. But what stood out most was her account of her upbringing in Shreveport, Louisiana. She chronicled how her parents sheltered her daughters from the harshest aspects of segregation while gifting them with a strong education and motivation to achieve. Despite all the prejudices that she encountered in the North and South, Lela was raised to not be a victim of segregation, nor to be prejudiced against others. She wrote, quote, "We were raised to believe we could aspire to be anything we wanted to be if we were willing to work hard enough for it," end quote. Of all the many, many things that Lela could have been, we are tremendously fortunate that she chose occupational therapy. Generations of occupational therapists, past, present, and future, have been inspired by Dr. Llorens to become better advocates, better allies, better researchers, and better clinicians. I now have the pleasure of introducing one of them to help us appreciate the personal and professional impacts that Dr. Llorens has made upon so many. Dr. Christine Peters is an occupational therapist and historian, recognized for her scholarship in occupational therapy history, especially the foundational and post-World War II eras. She earned a master's degree in occupational therapy from San Jose State University, followed by a PhD in occupational therapy at New York University. Her postdoctoral research in the history of psychiatric rehabilitation was funded by the National Institute of Disability and Rehabilitation Research, and she has been a keynote speaker at the United Nations. Dr. Peters is a member of the AOTA roster of fellows and was an invited consultant to AOTA's 2017 Centennial Archive Project. Her research has been funded by the Salmons Family Foundation, New York University, Midwestern University, the University of Minnesota, the University of Texas Galveston, and the Ohio Humanities Council. Here in Los Angeles, Dr. Peters has been instrumental in the evolution of our USC Chan archive here at the Center for Occupation and Lifestyle Redesign. The archive officially opened its doors in 2018, and a number of you here today were also here on that special day 4 years ago. The USC Chan archive is a repository of textbooks, journals, research manuscripts, photographs, artifacts, and personal communications, which together help tell the magnificent 80-year-old story of Trojan occupational therapy. Dr. Peters has been an expert historical consultant in acquiring, reviewing, and cataloging so much of the USC Chan archive. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Chris Peters.
Dr. Baranek and invited guests, it is an honor to speak about my mentor, Dr. Lela Llorens, former adjunct professor, USC Chan, professor emerita, San Jose State University, and a core faculty emerita at Stanford Geriatric Education Center. My remarks about her legacy pale in comparison to the breadth and depth of her contribution as one of the architects of occupational therapy profession for more than 50 years. As a scholar, researcher, administrator, practitioner, and mentor, her insight is grounded in wisdom, a strong work ethic, life balance, and integrity. I am a historian, and historians value primary sources above all else. But I also want you to know my teacher the way I do. Therefore, I will be adding Dr. Llorens's own voice, her own words, to my remarks this afternoon. Quote, I really think that African American occupational therapists were very proud to have someone in positions that I have been in and have been very supportive. By the same token, I think that my Caucasian colleagues have been supportive and proud. Lorene Kovalenko once said that I was a citizen of the world. This is how I view myself, end quote. For those who know, Lorene Kovalenko is a Trojan. Education was key. Every citizen of the world has to be born somewhere. Growing up during the Depression years of the 1930s, Lela, as I had come to know her, spoke to me about childhood in Louisiana and Michigan. Quote, my dad was working at the post office in Shreveport. My grandmother was a housekeeper for a rich family. I learned how to cook from my grandmother, foods she made for the people she worked for. It was a segregated system, and I went to a segregated school. Education was the way to make it in the world, end quote. For those who have had the honor, Lela can cook. Education was key, and Lela excelled academically. She graduated from Western Michigan University with a Bachelor of Science degree in Occupational Therapy in 1953. She characterized herself as one of Miss Spear's girls, which meant not only knowing, but meeting the expectations placed upon you by a prominent educator. Landing a coveted position as an occupational therapist, Llorens worked at the Lafayette Clinic in child psychiatry, a research institution. Wilma West wrote of Llorens in 1991, quote, I first became aware of Lela Llorens when her name began appearing on research articles emanating from the Lafayette Clinic in Detroit. That was in the 1960s when few OTs were involved in interdisciplinary team research, end quote. Her years at the Lafayette Clinic stimulated her inquisitive mind and involvement in the American Occupational Therapy Foundation at a national professional level. Quote, I was invited by Wilma West to some workshops, the Walden Woods, Michigan workshops about object relations. I think it was the combined sponsorship of Wilma West and Marge Fish. Between 1965 to 1967, we were looking at the theoretical and conceptual aspects of activities and objects. The third one in the trilogy was the Albion Michigan workshop that involved Fiedler, Mosey, and Kovalenko, and others to bring about dialogue. In the 1970s, Llorens worked tirelessly with West and Gillette, moving AOTF from a philosophical to a research base. Through the eyes of peers, what is crystal clear is how her peers have viewed her, with nothing but the greatest respect and admiration. Dr. Llorens has received the highest honors from the American Occupational Therapy Association and the American Occupational Therapy Foundation, and has been recognized as one of the 100 most influential people to the profession. early honors included the roster of fellows in 1973 as a founding member. That followed on the heels of her theoretical 1969 Eleanor Clark Slagle lectureship, which proved both groundbreaking and inspirational. Quote, "That was a milestone as a professional, to be recognized by your peers, having something to say. The lectureship was important to me because intellectual accomplishment is important. It's part of the value system that I grew up with, that education and learning was still important. Dr. Llorens is the fourth recipient of AOTA and AOTF President's Commendation in honor of USC alumna Wilma L. West in 1997. It's a Lifetime Achievement Award that also echoes a personal connection with Willie. Dr. Llorens' recognition marks career milestones. USC threads. Llorens and West created a research alliance. As West wrote, quote, "My acquaintance with Lee developed rapidly into a personal friendship and greater collegial admiration in the mid to late 1960s through firsthand knowledge of her work." Llorens admired and hosted Ayres. Quote, "I had heard Jean Ayres speak in the 60s when I was at Lafayette Clinic. Over the years, I tried to hear her because it took listening to her. It took reading her book. I felt I was 10 years behind in terms of understanding her. I would carry her books with me whenever I had to take an airplane trip any place, because that was a block of time that I could spend to read and understand what she was trying to teach us." Ayres accepted an invitation to the University of Florida, Gainesville, when Llorens was chairperson. As an aside, Jean Ayres accepted very few invitations. Quote, "We had her come to our house for dinner, and my daughter, Maria, met her. She was kind and gentle with Maria. She read her 4th grade paper on the brain. Maria thought it was wonderful too." And I see some nods going on. Llorens on Reilly. Quote, "I think Mary Reilly is a very brilliant woman. I think she had some brilliant ideas about occupational therapy. I've been in workshops in which she was participating when she still was participating." Llorens and Clark. The Llorens and Clark thread draws us to a contemporary chapter with Lela's arrival to the USC campus. If she had been an honorary member of the USC Circle of Scholars and Theorists, Lela became a bona fide Trojan with an adjunct faculty appointment. Reviewing the Clark collection in the USC Chan archive, a Llorens footprint exists. Llorens to Clark correspondence spans from 1998 to 2006 with conversations about well-elderly studies, graduate seminar, occupational science symposium, the Wilma L. West lectureship, honored alumni, the OTD program and portfolio. Congratulatory notes about Dr. Clark's AOTA presidency were written on artist Joseph Loren's note cards. If you walk to the foyer of the Center of Occupation and Lifestyle Redesign, you will see the names Joseph and Lela Llorens that mark their commitment to a vision and a beloved house. Personal reflection. Personal reflections and mentorship. In closing, I first mentioned that Lela was my mentor. And I remember my first introduction to her when I was a student at San Jose State in the early 1980s. There was an announcement posted on the occupational therapy bulletin board. Remember those? Showing her picture prior to her arrival, stating that she would be our new graduate coordinator. Shortly after she began, she replaced Miss Joyce Ward, a USC alumna, as the occupational therapy chair. I was a teaching assistant in the department and remember the anticipation. Reading her scholarship, my fear was that she was not approachable. What I learned was the opposite. Not only did we learn about academic excellence and curiosity, but the strength of a trusting heart. Lela had faith in her students, colleagues, and the promise of occupational therapy. I am proud to be one of Lela's babies, as she referred to us. I leave you with her wisdom. Quote, "Everything that I have done is the next step in a quest for finding out what occupational therapy was about and could do. I wasn't going to give up until I was satisfied that I knew. I ideally see myself as an occupational therapist who had the opportunity to be an educator, clinician, an academician, researcher, and consultant. But my basic identity is that of an occupational therapy practitioner. I would never give up occupational therapy because it permitted me to do other things that I have done. It provided me the opportunities to live my dream or my father's dream. He was proud of the fact that I never lost my identity of who I am and that I could move back and forth between cultures. Lela, on behalf of all your babies, those both from San Jose and spread throughout the profession across the decades, thank you for all that you did for us and for the profession.
Thank you so much, Dr. Peters. In addition to the 1969 Eleanor Clark Slagle Lectureship, as previously mentioned, Dr. Llorens, you have received the association's two other high honors: the AOTA Award of Merit, recognizing stellar professional achievements, which you received in 1986, and the joint AOTA-AOTF President's Commendation in honor of Wilma L. West, which you received in 1997. Together, these three rarefied awards form a career grand slam, if you will, that only a handful of occupational therapists have ever earned. I don't have to tell you that. Other major awards that you've received include the American Occupational Therapy Foundation's Aging Ayres Award, the Foundation's Meritorious Service Award, the California Foundation of Occupational Therapy Lectureship, the Wilma West Lectureship at USC's 1993 Occupational Science Symposium, and the Lifetime Achievement Award from the Occupational Therapy Association of California. Today, we get to add one more honor to that illustrious list. Dr. Llorens, would you please join me on the dais? The Hall of Honor at the USC Chan Division of Occupational Science and Occupational Therapy recognizes those larger-than-life icons, the USC alumni and faculty members who have indelibly shaped this university, the profession at large, and thereby the people served the world over by occupational therapy. Their portraits hang in our hallway at the Center for the Health Professions building on the USC Health Sciences Campus, as well as right here at the Center for Occupation and Lifestyle Redesign. Dr. Llorens, today you become the 14th Trojan to join this illustrious group, and it is an honor that is so incredibly well-deserved. From this day forward, your portrait, painted by artist Joe Day, rightly stands among these few greats who truly have fought on for occupational therapy. At this time, Lela, would you please help me do the honors?
Okay.
Would you be able to?
Sure.
We can stand here, and on the count of three, you ready? 1, 2, 3.
My remarks are not nearly as long as theirs, but I do appreciate them. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for coming. This is really a special occasion. It's such a pleasure to be here, and it's such a pleasure to see all of you. I want to thank Dr. Baranek and for everything that you said and everything that you've done to bring this about. My thanks also to Bianca Ojeda, without whom the preparations for my part in this ceremony would certainly not have progressed as smoothly as they have. I'd also like to thank my family, friends, mentees, and all others for joining us this afternoon. A special thanks to my daughter, Maria, for making the sacrifice to be here. Last week at the Village, where I live, the Life Enrichment Department sponsored an honor preview. It was an opportunity to share with my friends the significance of this wonderful occasion and to talk a bit about the profession. In preparation for that event, one question asked of me was about my connection to USC. While today is focused on, among other things, the Eleanor Clark Slagle Lecture, I want to take a little time to remember that this division honored me as the Wilma L. West Lecturer in 1993, and again in 2000. I've enjoyed a warm, professionally rich relationship with many of the faculty, most notably Dr. Elizabeth Yerxa and Dr. Florence Clark. I had the awesome opportunity to stand in for Dr. Clark one semester when she was on sabbatical leave. I've had many opportunities to share my knowledge and experience with their students in person and by teleconference, even before Zoom took over. I had the honor of attending the unveiling of Dr. Clark's portrait as well. It is indeed a high honor to join such auspicious company in the USC Chan Center for Occupation and Lifestyle Redesign's Hall of Fame, as well as in the Health Center. I'd like to thank you very much. Okay. Now, may I do the gift now?
Yes, absolutely.
To Dr. Baranek, I came bearing a gift, and the gift is for the center. In 1996, when I retired from San Jose State University, Dr. Florence Clark and the faculty of the then Department of Occupational Science and Occupational Therapy were kind enough to attend my retirement reception, bearing a lovely gift of a beautiful Waterford crystal vase. It seems only appropriate at this time in my life to return it as a gift to the USC Chan Center of Occupation and Lifestyle Redesign. For you.
Yeah, we want a picture with the vase. Stay right here for a second, okay?
My family has a lei for me too.
Okay, wonderful. So, Dr. Llorens, on behalf of the entire USC Chan Trojan family, thank you for all that you've done for occupational therapy and for occupational therapy practitioners and researchers. And thank you all again for joining us today to celebrate this amazing woman. First, I want to hand you your gorgeous flowers. There. As we head to the reception, a quick announcement that the USC Chan Archive is open for your viewing today. Please be aware that the majority of the archive is physically located on the second floor of the center. So if you prefer not to or unable to use the stairs, there is an elevator inside the center that can take you up to the second floor. We also have a number of staff members and students available on site to help orient and assist you. So if there's anything we can help with this afternoon, please just ask. Thank you again. Enjoy the reception and fight on.